I was born in a modest home, nestled on the outskirts of a tranquil Argentine village, a place painted with golden fields beneath vibrant skies. My parents, Mateo and Sofia, were humble souls, their hearts brimming with love and deep devotion to our family. My father, a meticulous accountant with Italian roots, sought a better life here, while my mother, a woman of gentle strength and resilience, dedicated herself entirely to nurturing us with unwavering care. As the youngest of 5, I grew up enveloped in the joyful chaos that only a large family knows. Our home echoed with laughter, shared struggles, and countless small moments that became treasured memories. Father worked tirelessly, his desk lamp often burning late into the night, ensuring we never lacked essentials. From him, we absorbed the value of perseverance and the quiet dignity of integrity. Mother, with her gentle hand and guiding spirit, taught us compassion, humility, and the unbreakable strength found in family unity. We weren't wealthy in material terms, but our lives overflowed with what truly mattered: love and faith. Sundays followed a sacred rhythm: early morning mass, then bustling family meals where the aroma of empanadas and milanesas filled the air. Around that table, stories unfolded, tales from our parents' past, woven with resilience, sacrifice, and hope, forming the very foundation of who we were. Among my siblings, Jorge, the eldest, possessed something remarkable even from a young age: a quiet determination, an inner strength I couldn't fully grasp back then. He was our anchor, comforting us after difficult days, offering advice that always seemed wiser than his years, making each of us feel uniquely seen and valued. Jorge carried a constant companion, a small, worn Bible, always tucked away as if it were an extension of himself. Even as a teenager, he'd retreat into its pages, lips moving silently, lost in a dialogue with something greater. I'd watch him sometimes, his face calm, gaze distant, immersed in those ancient words. His faith, though understated, was deeply personal and unwavering. One lazy summer afternoon, amidst the hum of cicadas, Jorge suddenly paused our garden play, looking towards the sky. "There's something far greater than us," he murmured, planting a seed in my young heart, a thought that would blossom much later. Our days were woven with simplicity. Walking dusty paths to school, we shared dreams and worries. Jorge, despite his own burdens as the eldest, was always our protector, shielding us, often carrying his struggles in silence. Life, however, rarely stays simple. Just as we seek to understand these formative moments, we also want to connect with you, who accompany us on this journey of faith and reflection. Many of you leave your names and cities in the comments, and in our next video, we want to send a special message, a warm embrace to some of you. Would you like to have your name mentioned, feel that human connection, and be part of our community even more closely? Comment below with your name and your city, and leave a like if this story resonates with your heart. It's a small gesture of affection, a minute of recognition for those walking with us. But the tranquil rhythm of our lives was destined to change. A shadow fell, and the weight of responsibility settled heavily on young shoulders, forcing a premature passage into adulthood and revealing the first true tests of that quiet, unwavering faith. Life's gentle rhythm took a sharp, painful turn when our father passed away. A deep shadow fell over our home, and the vibrant colors of our simple life seemed muted by grief. Suddenly, at only 20 years old, Jorge stepped into the void, shouldering the immense weight of our family's future. He worked tirelessly, juggling studies and any odd job he could find, his quiet strength becoming the pillar that held our world together. He did this to help my mother keep the household afloat, preventing the waves of hardship from overwhelming us. "Dios proveerá, God will provide," he would say, his calm smile a beacon, his faith unwavering even in those simple, powerful words. In those trying times, Jorge transformed before our eyes. He became more than an older brother. He was the bedrock of our family's resilience, the quiet force ensuring we moved forward. Yet, Even as he supported us, I often caught glimpses of something else in his eyes during moments of solitude, a burden carried silently, a struggle uniquely his own. Through it all, love and an unyielding faith bound us together. Despite the difficulties, Jorge's quiet determination and his unwavering devotion to the words in his worn Bible hinted at a deeper calling stirring within him, a force we couldn't yet comprehend, but one that was beginning to subtly shift the trajectory of all our lives. Life continued in our quiet Argentine village, but beneath the surface of daily routines, a sense of unease began to ripple through our family. Jorge, still the cornerstone, seemed to carry an invisible weight. It wasn't spoken of directly, but it was there, in the way his gaze lingered on the distant horizon, or how his hands gripped the edge of the table during quiet moments, as if bracing himself. Then came the day everything shifted, a moment etched into memory like a scar. It was a heavy summer evening, the air thick, the cicadas' song almost deafening. Jorge returned home early, his usual calm replaced by an uncharacteristic somberness. I remember vividly how he sat at the kitchen table, shoulders hunched, hands clasped tightly as if in prayer. The setting sun filtered through the curtains, painting him in hues of orange and gold, yet the light couldn't seem to reach the troubled depths of his eyes. He remained motionless for what felt like hours, caught in an unseen, internal battle. Jorge, my mother finally broke the silence, her voice gentle, yet laced with concern. "What's wrong, mi hijo?" He looked up slowly, his face lined with an emotion I couldn't quite place. Fear, perhaps, or maybe resignation. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice steady but soft. The room seemed to hold its breath as we gathered around him, drawn together by the gravity in his tone. Jorge began to speak, his voice gaining strength as he shared a vivid, unrelenting dream that had haunted him for weeks. He described seeing a vast, blinding light that consumed everything, not frightening, he explained, but overwhelming. At the heart of this brilliance, he heard a voice, not his own, yet vibrating with truth. "You are called to something greater," it declared, echoing in the depths of his soul. "Go and be a beacon for others." As he recounted the dream, his hands trembled slightly, his composed voice cracking under the memory's weight. The words hung heavy in the air. "I don't know what it means," he admitted, looking at each of us, "but I can't ignore it." Silence descended, broken only by the creak of the floorboards. My mother, her eyes glistening, reached out, placing her hand over his. "If this is what God is calling you to, Jorge," she whispered, "then we will stand by you. Always." Her words seemed to lift some of the burden, but the uncertainty remained. He nodded, gratitude softening his features, yet his resolve was clear. Whatever lay ahead, a choice had been made. In the days that followed, a strange mix of anticipation and apprehension filled our home. Jorge immersed himself in his Bible, spending hours reading and praying, often found under the sprawling ombu tree, his face turned towards the heavens. An inevitability grew stronger with each passing day. He was preparing for something monumental, something none of us fully grasped, a path revealed in a dream, now demanding to be walked. The days following Jorge's revelation about his dream were unlike anything our family had experienced. An unseen current seemed to flow through our lives, carrying us toward a future we couldn't yet define. Jorge, once the steadfast pillar, now seemed both grounded and untethered, rooted firmly in his faith, yet reaching towards something far beyond our everyday understanding. It felt as though the simple fabric of our lives was being rewoven with threads of divine purpose. I remember finding him one warm spring morning beneath the old ombu tree in our garden, the sprawling branches sheltering him, his well-worn Bible open in his lap. He was lost in thought, gaze fixed on the horizon. Hesitantly, I approached, unsure if I should disturb his solitude. But his voice broke the silence first. "Do you ever wonder what's out there beyond what we can see?" he asked, his tone contemplative. I sat beside him, drawn by the weight in his words. "I guess I haven't really thought about it," I admitted honestly. He turned, his eyes shining with a mixture of profound peace and quiet urgency. "I've been thinking about it a lot," he confessed, "about what lies beyond this world and what it truly means to live a life of purpose." Before I could respond, he closed the Bible, holding it tightly. "Something happened last night," he continued, his voice dropping to a whisper, instantly raising the hairs on my neck. He recounted another vivid dream, unlike any before. He found himself walking through a dense, golden light, not blinding, but all-encompassing, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. He described an overwhelming sense of peace filling him, so profound it brought tears to his eyes. And then the voice returned. "It wasn't loud," he said, voice trembling slightly with the memory, gentle, almost like a whisper, but it spoke with a power I can't explain. The voice said, "Jorge, you are called to be a light in the darkness. You must prepare yourself." He paused, eyes glistening. "I woke up with those words echoing," he finished. "I couldn't shake them, Maria. It felt so real, like more than just a dream." As he spoke, a chill ran through me. The conviction in his voice was undeniable. This wasn't merely dreaming. It felt like a genuine calling, a glimpse into something far greater than we could comprehend. In the following days, Jorge threw himself into his faith with renewed fervor, spending hours in quiet prayer, often retreating to the small village chapel. Subtle changes became noticeable, an unshakable calm settled upon him, a newfound clarity shone in his words and actions. One evening, as sunset painted the sky, Jorge gathered us in the living room. The air felt heavy with anticipation. "I need to share something," he began, voice steady but filled with emotion. "I believe I've been given a purpose, something far greater than I could have imagined. I don't know exactly where this path will lead, but I know I have to follow it." His words hung in the quiet room. My mother, ever the comforter, reached for his hand. "Whatever this is, Jorge, you have our support," she said softly. My siblings nodded, their expressions a mix of pride and apprehension. I wanted to echo their support, but a knot of fear tightened in my chest. What did this calling truly mean for him, for our family, for me? Jorge's gaze met mine, sensing my unease. "Maria," he said gently, "I don't have all the answers, but I know we're not alone in this. There's a plan, something bigger than us." His words, though comforting, did little to quell the uncertainty swirling within me that night as I lay awake, replaying his visions. What exactly was this calling that had gripped him so completely? And what would it demand of him and of us as he began to truly embody this light he was called to be? Jorge's decision to follow his calling brought a palpable shift to our home. It was as though an unseen hand was gently guiding him toward a new horizon, one invisible to us, but clear to him. Days turned into weeks, and his routine became almost unrecognizable. He would rise before dawn, immersing himself in reading and prayer, his Bible a constant companion, its pages growing worn from loving use. His faith, once quiet and introspective, began to radiate outward in ways impossible to ignore, touching not just our family, but the world around him in subtle, yet profound ways. One night, passing his room, I noticed the faint glow of a candle flickering beneath the door. Curiosity drew me closer. Peeking inside, I saw Jorge kneeling by his bed, head bowed, hands clasped tightly in prayer. His whispered words were inaudible, but the sheer intensity of his devotion filled the small space, a silent testament to the connection he was forging. That same evening, he shared another story, another vision that had come to him during prayer, leaving us speechless. He described standing on a vast plain shrouded in shadows. The air felt thick, heavy with a palpable sense of despair surrounding him. "I felt helpless," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. But then, out of the darkness, came a light. Not just any light, it was alive, vibrant, full of love. He described how this living light pierced through the shadows, causing the darkness to retreat. Pausing, his gaze distant as if reliving the moment, he continued. Then I heard the voice again. It said, "Be the light for those who cannot see." Your faith will guide them." The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling upon us. My mother wiped a tear, her face a mixture of pride and reverence. For me, it felt as though the very air had shifted. Jorge's experiences carried an undeniable spiritual weight. In the days that followed, his actions began to speak even louder than his visions. He started helping people in the village in small, meaningful ways, carrying groceries for an elderly neighbor, offering to repair a broken fence, simply lending a compassionate ear to someone burdened. His faith was no longer confined to quiet moments. It flowed into his every action, becoming a tangible presence in our community. One afternoon, sitting beneath the familiar ombu tree, I finally asked him about his visions and the doubts that must surely accompany such experiences. "Do you ever doubt them?" I asked hesitantly. Jorge smiled, a calm serenity settling in his expression. "Doubt is natural, Maria," he said gently. "But every time uncertainty creeps in, I remind myself of the light I've seen. It's not something I can explain. It's something I feel. And that feeling is more real to me than anything else." Listening to him, I couldn't help but notice the profound change in him. Jorge had always possessed strength, but this was deeper. Not just determination, but an unshakable peace, a quiet confidence originating from a source beyond this world. That night, staring at the stars, I pondered the light he described. Could faith truly be that powerful, that real? His journey reminds us that even when doubt whispers, faith can be an anchor, a source of inner peace and strength. If you feel that connection to a higher purpose, that inner light guiding you even through uncertainty, affirm your faith by commenting Amen below. May it be a declaration of the enduring light within you and a blessing upon your path. This growing certainty, this inner light, was now leading Jorge towards a definitive, life-altering decision, one that would test our family's support and change our lives forever. Jorge's transformation was undeniable. With every passing day, his sense of purpose solidified, becoming clearer not just to him, but to all of us who watched him. He carried himself with a quiet determination, an air of knowing the path ahead even when we couldn't see it. It was as if the light he described was now illuminating his steps, one by one. Then came the evening when the setting sun bathed our small village in hues of amber and crimson. Jorge gathered us in the living room, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable sense of urgency. "I've made a decision," he began, his gaze meeting each of ours, resting perhaps a moment longer on mine. "I believe it's time for me to take the next step." My heart sank, a lump forming in my throat. Though I had sensed this moment coming, hearing the words made it irrevocably real. "I've spoken with Father Santiago at the parish," he continued, the parish priest who had been a quiet presence in our lives. "He agrees that I should enter the seminary." The words hung in the air, heavy with significance, marking the end of one life chapter and the beginning of another, unknown one. My mother spoke first, her voice steady despite the emotion brimming in her eyes. "Jorge, if this is what God is calling you to," she affirmed, echoing her unwavering support, "then we will support you with all our hearts." The rest of us nodded, a silent chorus of agreement, though I struggled to find my own voice. My chest tightened with a complex mix of pride for his courage and sadness at the impending separation. Jorge had always been our protector, our rock. The thought of him leaving felt like losing a vital part of myself, a part of our family's core. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Jorge spent long hours in prayer, seeking clarity and strength for the journey he was about to undertake. Yet, amidst his spiritual preparations, he made time for each of us individually, offering words of encouragement and wisdom that seemed to flow effortlessly, born from his newfound connection. One afternoon, walking through the golden fields just beyond the village, I couldn't hold back my own fears any longer. "Jorge," I asked, my voice trembling slightly, "aren't you afraid?" He stopped, turning to face me, his expression serene. "Of course, Maria," he admitted gently. "But fear isn't the absence of faith. It's an invitation to trust in something greater." His simple, profound words lingered long after our conversation ended. He had a unique gift for turning even fleeting moments into lessons of deep meaning. The day of his departure arrived far too quickly, dawning crisp and clear. We stood outside our modest home, the early morning light soft, the air filled with the scent of dew and wildflowers. Jorge embraced each of us, saving me for last. "You'll always be in my prayers, Maria," he said, his voice soft but firm, a promise across the distance that would soon separate us. "No matter where I go, a part of me will always be with you." Tears blurred my vision as I watched him walk away, his figure shrinking with each step down the familiar dusty path. A part of me desperately wanted to call out, to ask him to stay, but a deeper part knew this was his path, uniquely his, chosen and accepted. His physical presence was gone, but his journey was far from over. Soon, letters began to arrive, bridging the distance, sharing glimpses of a new life, new challenges, and the deepening of the faith that had called him away. The letters from Jorge became precious lifelines for our family, each one a beacon of hope and inspiration arriving from the seminary. They bridged the physical distance, painting pictures of his new reality. He described moments of profound spiritual awakening, nights spent in silent prayer where he felt the unmistakable presence of something divine, mornings filled with a steady rhythm of study and deep reflection that challenged both his mind and spirit. But his path wasn't without its shadows. In one particularly honest letter, Jorge confessed the depth of his struggles. "Maria," he wrote, the vulnerability raw on the page, "there are days when I feel overwhelmed, when doubt creeps in, whispering that I am not enough, that this calling is too great." It was jarring to read. Jorge, who had always been our strong, unshakable rock, was facing his own Gethsemane. Yet, even in confessing his doubt, his faith shone through. But then, he continued, "In the stillness of prayer, I am reminded of the light I saw, the voice I heard. You are called to be a light in the darkness." Those words keep me going, Maria. They are my anchor. Reading his words stirred a strange mix of pride and pain within me. Pride in his honesty and perseverance, pain in knowing his struggle. Yet, it was precisely in that vulnerability that his true strength was revealed, not a strength devoid of weakness, but one forged in the fires of doubt and trust. One evening, sitting alone with one of his letters, his words resonated deeply. He wrote about a specific night in the seminary chapel when he felt utterly alone, the dimly lit room thick with the scent of old wood and candle wax. "I knelt there," he wrote, "feeling the weight of the world pressing down. I closed my eyes and whispered, 'God, are you still here?'" He described what happened next not as a loud miracle, but as a quiet, profound assurance. In that moment, I felt it, a warmth starting in my chest, spreading through my whole body. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a presence. I knew, without a doubt, I was not alone. His vivid descriptions painted pictures that lingered long after the letters were folded away. Jorge's journey wasn't merely a test of faith. It was becoming a powerful testament to the transformative power of belief, perseverance, and divine encounter. Back home, we found ourselves drawing strength from his shared experiences. My mother, the quiet backbone of our family, began sharing her own reflections. "It's not just Jorge on this journey," she said one night, her voice soft but steady. "We're all part of it, in our own way." Her words echoed a growing feeling within me. Jorge's path was unique, yes, but it wasn't isolated. His faith was like a ripple, extending outward, touching each of us, shaping us in ways we hadn't anticipated. As months passed, the letters continued, sources of guidance, reminders that even in dark moments, light can be found if we seek it. Finally, the day of Jorge's ordination arrived. It felt as though the entire village gathered, the small chapel filled with a sacred stillness, sunlight streaming through stained glass, painting the stone walls in vibrant hues. Jorge stood at the front, robed in white, head bowed in humility. Tears welled as I watched the ceremony unfold. My brother, our protector, now fully stepping into the calling that had reshaped his life and ours. When he knelt for the blessing, a hush fell. The priest's hands on his head, the resonant words of consecration. It was a moment of profound grace. This shared journey of faith, watching someone embrace their calling despite trials, is truly inspiring. If Jorge's story of perseverance and finding light in darkness resonates with you, let us know by liking this video. And if you want to continue following stories that uplift the spirit and explore the depths of faith, consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us share these powerful narratives with the world. The ordination marked not an end, but a transition. How would this newfound role shape Jorge? And how would the light he carried begin to impact the wider world beyond our small village? After the ceremony, we gathered around Jorge, our family wrapped in a collective embrace of pride, love, and perhaps a touch of awe. Though visibly emotional, Jorge carried a quiet joy that was infectious, a light that seemed to emanate from within. "This isn't the end," he said softly, his voice steady, meeting each of our eyes. "It's just the beginning. For me, for all of us." His words resonated deeply as we returned home that evening. I found myself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought us to this point. The quiet faith nurtured in childhood, the shadows of loss, the startling dreams and visions, the moments of profound doubt countered by unshakable conviction, the challenges faced, and the glimpses of divine light in the darkest times. Jorge's faith had not only transformed him, it had become a source of strength and inspiration for everyone whose life he touched. In the weeks that followed his ordination, Jorge's presence began to ripple outward, beyond our family and into the wider community. People from the village, and soon from further afield, sought him out for guidance, drawn by his calm wisdom, his compassionate ear, and the unwavering faith that shone through him. His story became a living testament to the power of belief, a tangible reminder that even when the path is uncertain, even when doubt whispers, there is always a light to guide the way if we are open to seeing it. For me, witnessing Jorge's journey was a turning point. It awakened something within my own heart, a realization that faith isn't merely a passive belief system. It's about action, about responding to the call, about striving to become a light, however small, in the lives of others. Though our paths were different, the lessons his life embodied, perseverance, trust, compassion, and the courage to follow the light even into the unknown, would stay with me forever, shaping my own understanding of purpose and devotion. His journey reminds us all that a calling may lead down unexpected roads, filled with trials, but ultimately leads to a deeper connection with the divine and a capacity to serve others in ways we might never have imagined. Jorge's commitment to being a light, guided by his unwavering faith, echoes the ultimate source of that light. If his story inspires you to recognize and follow the divine guidance in your own life, share that affirmation by commenting below. Jesus is the King. Let it be a testament to the guiding power of faith. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey. If this story of finding purpose and light moved you, don't let the inspiration end here. Click on the video that's now appearing on your screen to discover something truly life-changing, perhaps the very message or revelation you've been waiting for.